Why can't we get cross-server like in a month? Why do we have to wait till June for cross-server OPR?
Yeah.
Welcome to Forge and Eternum, where we talk about all things New World. You're going to see some new faces here today. I'm really happy to say that we're here. We have Dave Sullivan, who's our technical director, and Anthony Wynn, who's our senior server, one of our senior server engineers, but does a lot of heavy lifting on the server team for us. One of the things that these guys are probably sick of me asking, but I'm going to ask it again is, why can't we get cross-server like in a month? Why do we have to wait till June for cross-server OPR?
Yeah, so that's a tough one. If you think about like the classic MMO architecture, which is more like a sharded approach, in New World we call it worlds, but it's really effectively the same as shards in a more traditional architecture. You take you've got a bunch of servers that are stuck together, and that's the shard, and then you've got one for like computing the game environment. You've got one for all your database. You've got one for like player ingress and queuing. Probably one for like chat and social systems. And it's all just kind of glued together, and there's a certain number of players that shard can handle. And I think the reason that MMOs traditionally start with this approach is because it's easy. It's known how you scale because it's bounded by the size of that shard. And so with New World, we have a lot of that baggage as well. So we're built natively on AWS, and we have a lot of like shared microservices built on AWS. Which is not sharded, so we're kind of ahead of the curve there, but a lot of components, especially like game simulation and associated communication is still kind of isolated, and we might say siloed one world at a time. And so kind of breaking that silo barrier is kind of where the challenge comes in.
So when we were talking about this early, one of the decisions was, if you want it faster, we could just not have chat. For instance, that'd be one way to speed it up.
Not have chat or not have presence or things that require communication across the different shards. So if you have 20 players on 20 different shards and they all have to see the same chat message, that chat message has to be sent to all 20 shards. So we're increasing the amount of communication that's necessary to communicate the same thing that we currently communicate in isolation on one world.
So why is that bad?
It's not necessarily bad, it's just a lot more communication. So if you take that to the extreme, if New World had 100 worlds or 200 worlds, that single chat message is now being sent to 100 worlds. And as players are going cross-world and coming back, sometimes it might miss. You might get the chat messages sent to a world, the player's gone, it now has to send it back. So not only did we multiply it by 100 or 200 to go out, we actually potentially double it to come back in.
And that also, when you say presence, what you mean is things like, oh, my friend logged on and I'm getting notified. Things
online, offline, what I'm doing. Presence, rich presence could have more information in it than just online, offline.
Yeah, you might say that within like the one world, the one silo, it's really easy to maintain really strict control over your data and your flow within that area. But as soon as you get more distributed, things get a lot fuzzier, and it's a lot harder to run those in a consistent manner. So you end up with issues of data integrity and data races, and like, is your presence being written from this world or this world, and depending on latency and health of these worlds, and when one might arrive out of order, and is your data valid then still, or has it gotten corrupted? Like there's a lot of edge cases to think through when you go wide like that.
And so then we could introduce dupes or other exploits as well then as a part of that?
Potentially, yeah.
What other factors come into like making it work cross-world?
The ability to get somebody onto another world and off of their current world and then log back in. When we designed this, that sharded approach is you connect to an entry point server, and that entry point server connects you to the servers within the shard or within the world to kind of shorten the time it takes to get between servers if you're going to play on another world. We're having the players stay on that entry point and then having them connect to another world. So that's all new technology that doesn't really exist currently with those entry points. And there's a little bit of a scale question as to how many different worlds can an entry point be connected to? Because it's one entry point with 500 players on it. So how many different worlds could it connect to? Is it 20? Is it 200? We don't know.
Yeah, you like very low level concerns like sockets and bandwidth and performance.
Once we do this first version for Outpost Rush, that gives us a big head start on arenas and expeditions, right?
Yeah. So a part of what we're doing with Crossworld is that by allowing so many new players to play together from like a much larger population from every world, that means that we can take advantage of rich matchmaking and try to actually balance matches. And maybe it'll be gear score, maybe it'll be some kind of elo. It's to be determined. But we have a population where we actually want to match people together. So we're trying to architect to build rich matchmaking as well. So we're trying to get ahead of like future modes through matchmaking. Which
I know players are excited for. Once like that's, I think, what is really important is by laying this great foundation, it's going to allow us to expand and grow in a lot of ways that are very obvious, like those other game modes. But also, I think it's going to open us up to other ways to spread the world around as well.
Yeah, if you look at Outpost Rush and Arenas, those are kind of fairly straightforward, simple matchmaking modes. All right, we're Outpost Rush. We're just kind of pushing a bunch of people together and then organizing the team and saying you're going to play. When we get to more complex things like I want to play in this scenario as a tank or as a healer, and I only want to match with people who are playing the opposite roles that I want. Getting that type of matchmaking system up and running and writing a rules engine that allows the game team to be really creative on how they make matches, that's kind of the legwork that's going on now that will benefit us as we get past the first few Crossworld features.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned ELO or some more complex form of matchmaking for Arenas. That's definitely
whatever heuristics design needs to make sure everybody has a good time.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's pretty complex. Hopefully, like this, we answered some of the questions you all have about what makes this complex. If we didn't, I think a great community question would be, what specifically would you like to know about Crossworld or how we develop it? And we can try to answer that for you. Before we end, though, I do want to thank you guys for coming in. I know it's weird to get on camera and do these things, but we really appreciate it. And to everyone out there, if you like what you saw, let us know with a follow or a subscription, and we'll just keep doing these, and we'll do more technical deep dives if you'd like. Otherwise, thanks everyone, and we'll see you again.